On today's show, World's Toughest Mudder and Spartan World Champion Amelia Boone. Welcome to the OCR Report podcast, brought to you by the OCRReport.com. We are the only podcast to focus exclusively on the elite sport of obstacle course racing, from Spartan to Tough Mudder to the OCR World Championships, and wherever the elites are racing, we are there. My name is Will Hicks, and this is the OCR Report. Welcome back. Thank you for listening. My name is Will Hicks. My name is William Raymond Hicks. No charge for the Raymond. Give you that for free. You're listening to the OCR Report podcast from the OCR Report, the new leader in OCR media. Home of the best podcasts, photography, race results, course maps, and writing in the sport of obstacle course racing. Check us out on Instagram at the OCR Report to see what I am talking about. I am so happy to have you here with us today. In a few minutes, we're going to talk with Amelia Boone. Amelia was the first superstar of obstacle course racing. And some of you might say, what about Hobie Call? And I would listen to that argument. Hobie in his prime was unbeatable, but Amelia was the first person, man or woman, to break through from OCR into the mainstream, the more mainstream running and fitness community, fitness culture. Other than Amelia, who else has made that leap? I'd say one other person, Hunter McIntyre. Now, you and I can name elite OCR athletes all day long, but Amelia Boone is the one person people have written about in books and graced the covers of more magazines than I could even count. So always happy to have Amelia on the show. Before we talk with Amelia Boone, let's talk some news. This was a busy weekend in OCR, 9 different races all over the country. Undoubtedly the busiest weekend in the sport since March of 2020. I loved seeing everyone's race pictures and videos on social media this weekend. I'm going to read you the winners of each of those 9 races. For the full podiums, please check out our Instagram page at the OCR Report. Race results. The Spartan Sprint in Montana. Men's winner, Ian Hosick. And for the women, Alyssa Hawley. Spartan Race Super in Montana. For the men, Forrest Bogue. For the women, Alyssa Hawley. Again, congratulations, Alyssa. Spartan Beast in Montana. Ryland Shadag. And for the women, Casey Monroe. The Spartan Ultra in Montana. For the men, Miguel Medina. And for the women, Rea Kolbl. Second place was Amelia. We'll talk about this race with her in a minute. Savage, Maryland. For the men, Ryan Kimson. Kimson has not lost a Savage race this year. He is 4-4-4. He has won all 4 of his Savage races. And for the women, Tiffany Palmer. Battle of the Lions, DFW. This is a 4-race series in Texas and the Midwest. DFW was the first race in the series. For the men, Victor Casada. For the women, Amy Pajic. Crash Dash, OCR. This is a smaller local race in Bay City, Texas. For the men, Kenny Schroeder. And for the women, Lauren Stroud. Highlander Assault. This is a night race, a night OCR 5K with a Scottish Highlander theme. Sounds fun. For the men, Robbie Gingrich. And for the women, Hannah Carter. And finally, Phoenix Race, OCR. Another local race series. This one is based in Georgia. For the men, Jared Flank. And for the women, Aaliyah Emes. Congratulations to all those winners. For more on each of those races, check out our Instagram, the OCR Report. One word. Well done, you guys. Let's talk money. Money board, the OCR Report money board. We have a new leader on the money board. All year long, we are tracking race winnings in the obstacle course races all across the sport. Spartan, Tough Mudder, Savage, random local OCRs to see who finishes on top at the end of the year. And each week we post the top 10 winners on our Instagram on the OCR Report Money Board. One list, men and women. Racing doesn't care your gender. Racing is a results-based business. And if you win the races, you get the money. Let's talk top 5. You can see the full list on our Instagram. The top 5 names on the OCR Report Money Board are: in first place this weekend with his win at Savage, Maryland, is Ryan Kempson. Ryan has $4,100 in winnings and moves up 2 spots to number 1 on the money board. Congratulations, Ryan Kempson. In a tie for second place is 2 athletes who did not race this weekend. VJ Jones and Nicole Miracle both have $4,000 in winnings and move down 1 spot to be tied for number 2. By herself, in fourth place, is Chris Rogloski. Chris did not race this weekend, but no one was able to catch her in her fourth place perch. She has $2,700 in winnings. Does not change position this week. And finally, another mover in fifth place, Casey Monroe. Check this out. Casey podiumed in all 3 races she ran in Montana. She won the Beast. She finished second in the Super, and she got third place in the Sprint. Casey got all 3 places at all 3 races. We're going to call that a Casey Fecta. Congratulations, Casey Monroe. Casey has $2,200 in winnings and moved up 2 positions this week. Congratulations to everyone on the money board, and be sure to see the full money board on our Instagram at the OCR Report. Let's read some iTunes reviews.
5 stars.
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 Our first review comes from Dan Woods via Podchaser. Dan writes, 5 stars. Excellent podcast. Great interviews and outstanding insights. You can feel Will's passion for the sport, and it comes through in every episode. Will tells it like it is, in a humorous, honest way. Keep it coming, brother. Thank you, Dan. Appreciate those kind words. Dan is the CEO of Hildervat. Hildervat is a new race, started last year, mid-pandemic, and they are coming on strong this year. Check them out. May 22nd, Battle on the Beach. You'll be very excited. We'll have the whole team down there, the OCR Report. Our photographer, live race coverage, social media. Very excited about Hildervat. You can be a part of the show like Dan Woods by leaving a review on Apple Podcasts. Also, just open the Purple Podcast app on your iPhone or iOS device. Search for the OCR Report. Click our logo and then scroll down to click Write a Review. And I will read it on a future episode. If you don't have an iOS device, you can go to lovethepodcast.com/OCR to leave a review on Podchaser. That's what Dan did. lovethepodcast.com/OCR. There is a lot more news we could talk about, but you can read it on the OCRreport.com or go to our Instagram. I know why you're here. It's time to talk with Amelia Boone. Let's go to the phones. Amelia Boone is a Spartan World Champion, a 3-time World's Toughest Mudder champion, and the only OCR athlete with her own beef jerky commercial.
That is true. That is an accolade many people do not know of.
Very happy to welcome Amelia Boone back to the show.
Hello. Good to be here.
Amelia, it's been crazy times in our world lately. How are you?
Seriously.
It's almost a loaded question, right? But how are you? How are you today?
Well, I'm going to give the Robert Kolbl answer, which is medium. This weekend, I asked him how he was doing. He's like, medium. You can't be anything better than medium during a pandemic. And I was like, interesting. So, no, but I'm actually, despite everything, I'm doing pretty well. So
yeah, you look good. You got a smile on your face. You got dogs running around your lap.
I have dogs eating my hand right now. Ow. But yes, so it's good.
Amelia, you placed second at the Spartan Ultra this weekend in Montana. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. It was good to be back out there. I still slip up. I call it an ultra beast just because that's what I'm used to it being called. And I'm like, Amelia, it's just an ultra. But
yeah, they rebranded it a couple years ago when they they started with the 24-hour in Iceland.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it matters or not, but
it's just because when I say Spartan Ultra, like for me, people are like, oh, but are there obstacles in it? And I'm like, yes, it's still an obstacle race, because most people I know in like the ultra world, they hear ultra and they just think running. So they're like, oh, Spartan's doing just like a 50K. I'm like, no, they also do have a trail series. So just to make this a little bit more confusing,
that's
they've got a bit of everything.
That's a really good point. Ultra means something very specific, right? Like longer than 26.2 miles trail run. That's
right. I mean, it doesn't have to be trail, but it generally means run. Yeah. Because like there are road ultras, there was like 100-mile road ultra the other weekend. I can't imagine running 100 miles on the road, but yeah.
This was your first Spartan race in 3 years. How did it feel to be back on course?
I was very, very nervous going into it. I almost chickened out several times. Just because like, it's not just for me, like Spartan, it's just not just a race, there's a lot tied up in it for me. In just terms of emotions and in terms of like, that was like my history. And it's also kind of humbling to go back to something like, I don't know too many former world champions who are then like a few years later who are like, I think I'm going to give it another go. And so I kind of like didn't want to be, I always had in my mind, I always do like football analogies, like, like Brett Favre just prolonging his career when he should have just stuck with retirement. So that always like goes through my mind, but it was actually, once the nerves wore off, it was really great just to be out there, and, it felt good for sure.
Okay. Tell me about the wanting to chicken out feeling, because I think a lot of us feel that at the start line. You're
right.
Like I can still quit, right? Like is this a good idea?
I don't have to actually go out there. I mean, mine actually, once I got there and picked up my packet the night before, like I was fine. I was ready to rock and roll. So for me, it's always like getting on the flight. As long as I get on the flight, then I'm good to go. And so I think it was just a few days beforehand that I'm just like, do I really want to do this? Do I really want to put myself back out there? I didn't really do any type of obstacle training for this. And so, but it's just the ego talking. It's always the ego talking, so.
I heard your interview with Ryan Holiday. He's, I think, one of the best authors writing today.
Yeah.
He's
phenomenal.
You mentioned ego. What do you do to keep your ego in check?
Well, so I've been trying to, with this, I tried to look at it from an approach of like, have you heard the phrase beginner's mind, And so like the idea that like you're approaching it with curiosity and like a new challenge. So the thing that got me into obstacle racing was I remember the first Tough Mudder I ever did, and I fell off of everything. I was awful. And I remember being like, wait. I need to get good at this. And so I approached it from this point of view of like, this is a challenge. Let's see if I can actually do this. And so I tried to go back to that mindset of like 2011 and being a beginner at this all again. And just like approaching it from that viewpoint. And it was super helpful for sure.
I still remember the very first obstacle I ever did at an obstacle course race. It was the Tough Mudder walls.
Yeah.
Just Berlin walls.
12-foot walls?
Yeah. It was, I think it was 8 foot. Like it wasn't even that high, but it was my first one. And it was it was SoCal. I know I've seen you at the course down there. And I got to the top of that first wall and I was so excited. I was like, yes, I did it. And then there's another wall like 10 feet back. It's like, are you kidding me?
My first, I ran up in Devil's Head in Wisconsin, and our first obstacle was the 12-foot Berlin walls. And I remember everybody being like, how are we supposed to get over these? But yeah, you needed other people.
Was there any reacclimation for you, or was it like riding a bike?
There was reacclimation in terms of like there were new obstacles that I hadn't seen before. And so I had to ask volunteers on the course, like, what do I do for this? Like, what am I supposed to do? Like, I'd never seen the helix, which like wasn't hard. I'd never seen the pipe layer. Like these things weren't hard, but I just didn't know the rules. And I actually, one of them, the armor, which apparently is just like an Atlas carry, except there's like a chain on it and you just pick it up and walk with the chain. I actually picked it up like an Atlas carry and walked with it. And the guy was like, you're supposed to use the chain. You're making it harder. And I was like, isn't this the Atlas carry? He's like, no. And I'm like, oh, it looks the same. So I think there was just like a lot of, I don't really know what this is. And it was definitely kind of like hard. Just, I went slowly on most of the obstacles just to like, make sure that I was like solid. But I mean, I actually surprised myself in terms of like, I didn't really fail anything that I thought I would fail. So
having those new obstacles or new to you had to probably made it easier to keep in that beginner's mindset. Like, I'm here to learn.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it just like made it fun too. And I also was like sad because I got to the bucket carry and I didn't have to fill a bucket and there was a lid on it and you could carry it on your shoulder. And I was like, this is like another sandbag carry, And so there was a part of me that also just got nostalgic for like the way things used to be.
Back in my day,
and we had gladiators that pummeled you with sticks at the finish line. So, yeah.
Do you miss some of that old stuff?
Oh my God, yes. I would love Spartan to do like an OG obstacle race with like all of the original stuff that they had back in 2010. Like have the gladiators out there. And I'm sure they couldn't do it, but it would be phenomenal. Like, and some of the old obstacles that I think we look at that are probably jokes now, but yeah.
You finished in second place. Another World's Toughest Mudder champion finished in first, Rea Kolbl.
Mm-hmm.
What was it like racing with Rea?
I would say it was great, except I saw her at the beginning and then never saw her again. I saw her taking off in the distance. But no, it was really great to have her there on the start line. Like for my first race back, there would be nobody else that I would want to race with aside from Rea, because, she's been through her own stuff too, this past a year or so that she's talked about. And I think that like, I really feel connected to her in a lot of ways. And I love Rea. And so it was great to be out there with her. And she put on a clinic. So I hear. I didn't see it. I was too far behind. But yeah.
Tell me about the finish line. What were you feeling? Did you cross the line?
I was stoked because I just hit my second spear. And so it was nice to hit both spears. But it was great. Like I started to get emotional, and I get emotional every day. Like I started to cry on the start line. I start to cry on the finish line. Just because I think for me, it is more than a race, and it is something that I feared coming back to for so long. And so it was just really nice, like I did the same thing, with Tough Mudder, with World's Toughest in 2019, coming back to it. But Spartan is a different animal, like as much as they're the two obstacle races and technically they're the same now, I guess. They have such different feels to them. So yeah, sorry, you can hear my dogs in the background.
It's been a long time. What brought you back to the Spartan race?
I actually wanted to come back last year. I was planning on like 2020 coming back, and then clearly 2020 just got canceled entirely. Just the entire year should have been canceled. But I think for me, it's kind of, I've had like an up and down relationship with the sport. And I left when I kind of like made my transition to ultra running. A part of me was like afraid that I was just running away, and that it was because I was scared of it. And I guess I wanted to kind of reclaim it and see if I can approach Spartan in a different way, and really be out there. And I did. And my main goal was like to experience every moment of it. And for all 7.5 hours, I experienced every moment. So it was great.
You could have come back with like a sprint or a super.
I could have.
You went straight to the ultra. What's the thought process there?
There was no thought process there was a big thought process other than I'm preparing for a 100-miler in 5 weeks. And I thought it would be good time on feet. And 2, I'm better at running than I am at obstacles. And if you look at the obstacle to running ratio in an ultra, it is way more in my favor than in a sprint. So, and I just, I spent years, part of my problem with my relationship with Spartan is that when I was on the pro team and sponsored by them, they dictated what races I could run. And, you know, the national series was dictated as like, you must run these races. And they were never the races that I wanted to run. I always wanted to run the super long ones. I always wanted to run the ultras, but because I didn't have a say in it, you know, I was kind of resentful of that. So it was coming back to run Spartan on the courses that I want to run in the way that I want to run. And that's important to me.
Tell me about that 100 miler, the Bighorn 100.
Yeah, Bighorn. It's a 100-miler in Wyoming. No, it's a big mountain, like it's a mountainous 100. A lot of single tracks, apparently beautiful. There's apparently pretty muddy, but it's a hard rock qualifier. So I'm hoping to get in the lottery for hard rock, which is another big 100-miler. And so, yeah, just like, I haven't run a traditional 100-miler before, not one where you stop every hour on the hour. So I'm looking forward to it.
What other big races do you have coming up?
I have no idea, honestly. I have Bighorn. And then after that, the only other thing that I'm thinking about is like Telluride, like the Spartan 24 hours versus World's Toughest Mudder. We just booked our Airbnb for World's Toughest the other day. So I will definitely be there. But it's like, do I focus on racing that and going all out? Do I want to try and do Telluride as well? I still have that itch to see, like, can a female do 100 miles at World's Toughest? So, yeah, all of those things.
Well, I don't have a vote, but if you asked me, I'd love to see you compete at World's Toughest.
I know. And I think I'm leaning that way in terms of that being like my focus. But I also, like, to be honest, the course at Telluride appeals more to me just because it's up and down a mountain, you know, like,
as opposed to 5 mile loops.
5 mile. Well, it's 5 mile loops there, or it could be 10, but like Laughlin is flat. It's flatter than Vegas. You know, I've been to that venue before. So, I mean, it'll be fun. And I love, you know, Tough Mudder and everything like that. So we'll see. And I would actually really like to, because I think Rea is just going to run Telluride. And I honestly would I'd love to run like against / with her, you know? So we'll see. It will probably be World's Toughest though, just because that, when I say Spartan's my home, I mean, Tough Mudder is truly my home. So it's like one's a summer home, one's a winter home. I don't know.
Which one is the vacation home in this analogy?
I feel like Tough Mudder is my vacation home because that's like the less stressful. It's like got all the good feels home.
Spartan is the work home.
It's the work home. I'm trying to make them both vacation homes at this point. So,
tell me about the puppies. I see Emmy and Omar and Dilly on your Instagram.
Dilly is on my table right now. Dilly, come on. You got to get, oh my God. They're fantastic. It's a zoo at my house all the time right now. And I have a dog on my table that I can't get off. Come on, Dilly. Come on. There we go. And it's just given me kind of like a different meaning, I think, and something to take care of. And I love, you know, the chaos of the dogs, especially after this past year, you know, like everything with shelter in place and the pandemic was very lonely and solitary. And so it's nice just to have bustle and noise again.
It's the good noise. It's the good.
It is.
Even when they make a mess or they chew something up, but still. I
know. I'm like looking around. I'm like, I kind of smell something. And like the puppy isn't house trained. And I'm like, did the puppy just pee everywhere that I can't see? But I realize it's funny because I know like all my friends that have kids are like, what are you talking about? You need more noise. Like we haven't had any peace and quiet this past year. So it's just different than I think most people experience.
One of your dogs is named Omar. Do people still get the Wire references?
Well, apparently not. Because when I like on Instagram, when I put up like Omar coming yesterday, everyone's like, you should really watch The Wire. And I was like, that's why I put up Omar coming on. Like, if I hadn't seen The Wire, I wouldn't have. Yes. So apparently people also don't get like sarcasm on Instagram, but we all know that. So
I think my favorite part of The Wire is the sideways hat bit. Do you remember that? The two cops
Oh,
are
yeah.
talking and they see the kid with the sideways hat. Like, where do you buy those sideways hats? That's pretty cool. No. It's a regular hat. You just turn it over your ear.
It's the best show. I binge watched it when I was studying for the bar exam because I wanted a distraction from studying for the bar exam. So I just watched The Wire straight through all 5 seasons.
It's been a while, but I would imagine it still holds up.
Well, yeah. I mean, that was 10 years ago that I watched it. So, yeah, it was good.
Amelia, do you have any sponsors or anything you'd like to plug?
I have my dogs are my sponsors. You can hear them barking in the background. They make sure I'm up every morning at 4 a.m. No, I am. Yeah. I mean, as everybody knows, still working with Beta Lead and Human. I work with Ultimate Direction actually, and I have a clothing line coming out with them next year. So everybody watch out for super cool clothes from Amelia that probably I will only love. And there are no pants involved. So.
Okay. So Ultimate Direction is known for their hydration packs.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Is the clothing line a new thing for them or?
So they have some clothes and there are some out this year, but we're doing kind of like a kit that's kind of unique to me. So things that I like to wear and they're doing it with a few athletes. So it's been fun. It's pretty cool. Enjoy it.
How can people follow you on social media?
AR Boone 11 at Instagram where you can see all my dogs and, sometimes I post other things too. And Twitter at Amelia Boone. That's about it.
Okay, before we go, what's the deal with OCR on Twitter? There's like 3 people on Twitter.
Yeah, so this is interesting because OCR is all about Instagram and ultra running. Everyone's on Twitter. I mean, they're also on Instagram, but nobody on Twitter, I don't get it. But this has been this way for years. Like it has always been, and maybe it's because OCR people like pictures of themselves. I don't know, but there's like 0. And I say that being one of them. So I'm not sure, but obstacle racing people come on over to Twitter. It's really fun. I promise.
I feel like Twitter is kind of where the adults hang out. It's like the grown-ups room, the grown-ups table at Thanksgiving, right?
Oh, totally. I love it because it's like way less polished and refined and just like back and forth. And if you avoid all the political stuff on there, it's fantastic. So,
Any last thoughts on Spartan, Montana or anything else?
No, I'm just excited to be back and for a racing season to be shaping up. So, I think I'm actually going to try and do a Tough Mudder this year before World's Toughest. So I think I'm going to come out to, Sonoma and hang out with Carlo. So I assume you'll come up for that, right?
Love to. Amelia Boone, thanks much.
You're welcome.
Special thanks to Amelia Boone. Well done, Amelia. Come back anytime. Always happy to have Amelia on the show. Go check out the other shows on the OCR Report Network. Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts and follow the OCR Report on Instagram. I will talk with you soon. Go spend time with someone you love.
With the Floby, it is absolutely...
Amelia, quit messing with the electricity.
Sorry, little voice in my stomach. Not me. It's just an obstacle.
Then we need some all-natural Alberta beef jerky. It's protein without all of the sugar, a lot of protein bars.
Delicious.
Whew. Why is it getting so hot in here?
No idea.
Alberta beef jerky. You get out what you put in.